I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash, Brent, Caldo Wednesday. How does it get any better than this? Well, Brent's about to tell you because he's got the weather brought to you by AT Deal and Hay Feed and Ranch Services.
78 degrees in Victoria under mostly cloudy skies, heading to a high today of 91. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all show high 70s in the morning, mid 90s in the afternoon. Beautiful weekend coming up. Weekend basically starts kind of today.
It could.
Around 4.
Why not?
Yeah. It's kind of how that works.
Summer now, right?
Absolutely. Kids are at home, underfoot, doing nothing.
Parents already want them back in school.
No doubt
and they couldn't
about
get
it.
it to get them out of school.
The biggest proponents of year-round school are parents.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm looking something up because I want to get these.
I'll do roll call. We do
You
that.
do
Stephanie
that.
Connie, good morning. First one in. Ricky King, Greg Garcia back on the podium. Greg's been slipping lately. Good to see you back up there, sir. Mark Kurtz, Scott Tomko, eagerly awaiting the Stanley Cup playoffs. I can't wait. We'll get into that later on today. Jordan Glass, Marvin Mickish, good to see you back, sir. Lisa Poole, Judge Posey checking in. Good morning, Judge. Mark Zapata, Marina, good morning. Will Vincent, P. Strauss, Bonnie Howard, good-looking crew. Glad you're all here and joining us this morning.
I don't know how to find it. I went last night with interest to the
Funky.
city council meeting. Very well done. Our mayor was very, very on point. At one point, they had an issue and they voted against that issue, but then they had to amend it and they voted to approve the amendment. But then when they approved the amendment, they didn't ultimately or automatically then vote on the approved amendment. They just said, not only are we not going to do it that way, we're going to do it this way, which made sense. Everybody was like nodding, but from a Robert's rules, they didn't. And I loved it when Mayor Crocker goes, I don't always do it the same way. And it made sense. And the point was what they did was clarified. But
Common sense prevailed yesterday
Absolutely.
at city council.
Sure did. That was a good the common sense. And you can't always say that. If you've ever been involved in city government or any organization that votes, you'll find that common sense quite often gets thrown out. It's like when you're at the store and you're going, I want to buy that. And they're going, quit pointing at it on the shelf. The computer says we're out. There's so much that just gets lost at times, but our council did a good job. And it was actually somewhat entertaining. There were some awards given. Fergmar was given the beautification award for.
You would have known it. Well, you are hearing about it first now because
because
Christy Euchre just doesn't show anymore.
Christy Euchre told me. Now, you want to talk about really just going from I don't know where to stand, I don't know what to say, to just a full-blown diva. She was, I wait to hear from y'all. And when I hear from y'all, then I will make an appearance.
She forgets she has the standing invite every month.
I thought it was a given.
It was
that she was going to come in on Tuesdays and talk about.
She's too good for a standing invite now.
And I'm so
slouching.
I'm so proud of her. By the way, her business
she's come
card,
so far thanks to us.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll take all the credit.
From media nobody to full-blown diva who now might send somebody to tell us what's going on.
I'm here on behalf of Christy Euchre.
Right, absolutely. She got up and spoke and did a great job, and it was good. But Jesus Garza was there, and it was.
Who's got a bigger gavel, you or the mayor?
Oh, I have the biggest gavel. Are you kidding?
You think he's got gavel envy?
No, well,
hair's flopping today.
Who wouldn't have gavel?
I have gavel envy.
Yeah, very well done.
The gavel.
That's a huge gavel.
Wendy Hughes Garcia, Sherry Merrick, Jacobs, good morning, Sherry. Heather Stewart checking in. Rena Scherer from, I can pronounce it.
Isla.
Yeah, I got that part. I don't, the rest of it. Mujeres?
Mujeres, but
Mujeres
I don't know
close.
I don't know what Mujeres stands for.
Bobby Leister. I'm wondering if Bobby's at port, still at sea. I'm trying to figure out where we're big today, Bobby. So help us out there if you can.
But I wanted to ask you, what is the gentleman's name? He's fairly new. His last name begins with an S. Who is in charge of animals? He's the animal guy.
Animal control guy?
Sloth.
I don't remember.
Somebody will know it. They have a new program coming out with that, and I'll get the details later. This is like the 30-second overview. They're going to promote chipping your animal.
Good.
With the idea being that they've been, I think, through a grant or, it's yada, yada, yada. We've got 4 of these scanners, and what they're going to do is get community involvement where, like, let's say that you live in a neighborhood and you're willing to do it. When somebody finds a quote unquote stray
Mark Sloat. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy. You're fantastic.
Yeah, he's got them down. I don't brag on them a little bit. I think April's numbers, 94% survival rate.
So that's what he told me. He said at one point it was like
60.
Yeah, where there were like 7,600 animals and like 4,600 had to be put down. And he said mostly just due to lack of space. It wasn't that they were rabid or anything crazy. But what they're saying is we're going to make it easy, and it is inexpensive, to chip your animal. And then there you go. Tammy Keeling.
Thank you,
Googled
Tammy.
that for us. Majerus means women. Isla, the Isle of Women.
Isle of Women.
There you have
Was that their answer to the Isle of Man?
I guess, which has at least a Grand Prix race. But motorcycles, isn't it? Yes, motorcycle race. So what they would do is get someone like you, kind-hearted, wanting to help, volunteer.
A good man.
Like you, probably with less hair. And what they would do is then I find a dog, and it doesn't have a collar, but it's clean or whatever. And I'd be like, this could be somebody's dog.
And I take it home.
Peter McNally likes to go to the Island of Women. And I bring the dog to you, and you boop, 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 you scan it, and apparently it tells you who the owner is. And the idea being, if we can keep them out of the shelter, then we don't have to put them down.
Absolutely.
So very, very nice.
We also need to work the other end of this.
Neuter your pets.
Yeah, neuter and spay, folks. I might take up the Bob Barker mantle on this one.
Oh,
run with it. Thank you, Bob, for passing that torch to me. I will do it.
When people play against type, isn't it the greatest? You say Bob Barker, I immediately think Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, I think Price is right.
Well, you should, but I mean that's what made him. But,
Andrew Alvarez
and
checking
what
in.
He made.
Justin Glasthorn Bales. Good morning, TB.
When he would try to help people through it, no. There's only 4. You really think this car starts with a 1? I thought he was great.
Buddy Stavanoa.
I could lay it home.
He's a pretty damn good putter too.
Yeah.
Even though that's a straight putt, he would always make it from 20 feet and nail it.
I lay it home as a kid and win that game every time. I lay it home as an adult and lose at Jeopardy every time.
Absolutely.
So I'm not convinced though that Jeopardy's not just part TV show. I think those people are given to study.
No, trust me. I went through the process to try to get on Jeopardy.
That's such a bonus that you didn't make it.
That is the hardest.
5 plus 5. That's the rib. That'd be around 10, Bob.
10, Bob.
Yeah.
Alex at that time.
Alex, right. I don't know who it is now.
That was harder than the test for Jeopardy. Was the hardest test I've ever taken, ever.
Harder than the Mensa test you failed?
Yes. I missed it by 1 point.
I passed that Mensa test. I'm just not a joiner. I didn't care nothing about being. You really want to tell people you're Mensa? Woohoo! Big deal.
My life dream was to be on Jeopardy, and I failed at it.
Well, it's not.
I felt like
late.
Anthony Michael Hall in the Breakfast Club when he couldn't get.
Did they like put a big X on your file? Like, don't ever talk to us again?
Yeah.
Not really. No. You could probably reach out and do it again.
I'm too stupid now. Stand beside you every day.
Stupid. Smartest thing you ever did was stand beside me. Kidding me? If we could make a buck at this, we'd be set.
Yeah, no kidding.
Tell us about your Uncle Elon.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share the screen. I'll play the audio. I don't know. We want to see Rand Paul, but Rand is getting a little criticism because he's speaking out against the I think the big beautiful bill, even because surprisingly the Senate doesn't believe that the big, beautiful bill went far enough, and they actually want to make more cuts to send back to the House. So this will be interesting, but this is what Rand Paul had to say when President Trump, this was off Fox News yesterday. Apparently the president was a little bit critical of Rand. So, and Elon was a little bit critical of the big, beautiful bill as well. He pointed out that Wall Street Mav tweeted out that the budget deficit is going to be over $2 trillion a year going forward, and that our government revenue, 25% of it goes to interest payments on our massive deficit that we have.
It's a staggering number that we pay over $100 billion per month in interest on the national debt. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is
$100 billion per month.
The debt per citizen now is $107,825, $323,000 per taxpayer.
There's no way to pay that. There really is no way to pay that.
Not unless you start cutting spending.
You see how you make a comment about the hardest thing you ever took was you didn't take the CPA exam. Nope. You didn't take the bar exam.
Nope.
Then it's like you didn't take the driver test in Quero.
They didn't hear it.
Oh, what's wrong?
I don't.
It's not. That has nothing to do with the speaker. It has nothing to do with it.
Let's try it
He
again.
says that you don't understand the bill and that you love to vote no.
Well, I would say that's not actually true. I would say that I've been pretty consistent in my time in the Senate at being opposed to deficit spending.
There.
Is that hopefully
Did that work this time?
Hopefully,
Come on. That worked this time?
Yeah.
There we go.
There you
There
go.
we go. Thank you,
Rand
Michelle Wilson
Paul.
Hawkins.
So is there a chance this whole thing is a big setup? Because you've got on one side, you've got Rand Paul, who is obviously a noted conservative, saying it's just not enough. It's not enough. And you've got Elon Musk going, this is an abomination. I can't, I'm done with this. This is lip service. Is it possible that the president is quietly challenging the Senate to do even more? Because you can't say that Donald Trump wants to spend money. I mean, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know, because the Senate, Rand Paul, right from the get-go, has said we're gonna make more cuts because this didn't go far enough, and I applaud him for this.
And this is mandatory spending. Yeah. This is not discretionary spending. This is things like Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. I mean, this is entitlements.
And we're at an interesting week because the rescissions. There we go. Thank you. Finally got the pronunciation right.
Which is really just a reconciliation. It's not
of this is, to put it in layman's terms, as it was explained to me, this is basically the White House's ability to line item veto budgeted spending. And even that, I think there's some talk that it didn't go far enough. So it'll be interesting to see. I was listening this morning to a report. The president actually wants to go further on those cuts, and then it'll have to go back to the Senate and House to be passed. So we'll see who wants to actually get serious about cutting spending.
The courts are setting up to discuss whether or not the president can decide arbitrarily. We allocate, let's say, $150 million to NPR, and the president says, nope, I'm only going to give them 50. If Congress allocates it, does that mean the executive branch has to spend it? My guess would be no, it shouldn't be that way. If you can find a way to achieve the objective for less money, you shouldn't be forced to spend it. But it falls into that somewhat humorous, well, if you don't spend it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, hey,
That is the problem. You know what they should do? They should reward
efficiency.
employees of departments
Yeah.
that don't spend all the money.
Patrick Strauss is right. We already know who wants to get serious about cutting spending. No doubt about it.
No, never is. I think the rescission is part of the Doge cuts being implemented, right? That's how they have to do it. And there'll be more rescission packages, bills, whatever, as we move forward here. This is the first one, but there'll be more. It'll be interesting to see. This could be they want to get all this done before July 4th. So they break for the July 4th holiday.
They will. They'll get it done.
And then we'll see what else happens. But it's Kathleen Leininger. She says, even if every citizen was able to pay off the huge debt Congress has run up to cripple each of us, the buffoons in Congress will still continue to overspend.
That's right.
Yeah.
It would be, you'd be in debt again next week.
And I think that's Elon's biggest criticism of the big, beautiful bill is there's still way too much pork and too many pet projects being funded in there.
Oh, and they're wanting to raise now I get it. You've got to have defense in there and you've got to have certain things in there, but they're wanting to raise the debt ceiling. And if you're making the appropriate cuts, you shouldn't have to raise the debt ceiling.
No.
You shouldn't have to do it. Now, what they said is there's some legacy appropriations in there. There's budget things that were determined that haven't sunset yet. And until they sunset off, you've got to fund them. I don't know.
Well, but here's the thing. They want to extend the Trump tax cuts from 17, right?
I think those are essential too. Yeah. The small businesses and all that.
Yeah. And I'll give you anecdote. I've given the anecdotal evidence of small businesses here in Victoria that use those tax cuts to hire more employees.
Right.
So they could grow business.
He's talking about.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
But that's where I was going with this.
No, you were talking about small business credits.
Yeah. But here's the problem with the tax cuts and making them permanent. They don't want to cut the spending necessary to do it. And that's the biggest problem. Cut the freaking spending already. Argentina just did this. Argentina had triple-digit inflation. New president gets elected, cut government spending in some areas up to 70%. It was like something like 60% across the board. Their inflation hit its lowest number in decades the quarter after he implemented the spending cuts. Their economy didn't cripple. Their economy actually grew. GDP grew. The fear-mongering that goes on here, well, we can't cut spending because then somebody won't be able to get their wick.
Well, like when I say the power of the purse, we're talking about the power of the purse, and I say it's humorous the way Congress deals with it. It's because if you don't laugh, you cry. And at the end of the day, you could go in once and really make deep cuts, but such a high percentage of our nation is on the government tit that if you did so, they would rise up in mass, vote everybody out, and you'd have nothing but leftist fools in there that are saying, no, give them what they want.
No, it's worse than that. So much of every other nation is on our government's tit that the Democrats would rise up.
But if you decide America first, then you're bad.
Yes.
If you decide to take care of what's happening here at home, then you're an isolationist. And then if you have some national pride, then you're a nationalist. And then, you're a fascist over an oligarchic society. And then you're practically a Nazi. You
are Hitler.
You are Hitler because you chose to spend our money on our people in our country at the expense of electric buses in Saudi Arabia. You are the Antichrist.
It was worse than that. It was Sudan or something.
Electric
Rwanda.
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 Like, nobody cares about Rwanda.
They don't even have reliable electricity.
Who cares about Rwanda? That is exactly the logic that is employed. Oh, well, you care about America. Oh, you're one of those MAGA people? Gross. MAGA. Yeah, what a terrible idea that America actually be great again.
Why did Elon hate the bill? Asked Linda Christ. She says she's trying to take a good look at it because of Elon's comments. I think the gist of it is
He
it
wants
didn't
more
go far
cuts.
enough. Yep.
He wants more cuts. He says,
He saw the massive fraud and overspending, and he doesn't think this addresses it enough.
you're on a sinking ship and you're bailing water, and the government, every time they take something, they're putting a hole in your bucket.
I'm going to give you a Canadian history
You can't bail fast enough.
vignette here.
Oh, goodness.
Alberta was in a similar. The province of Alberta was in debt, deficit spending. Ralph Klein came along as the premier, who ironically leaned more liberal until he ran as a progressive conservative to become the premier of Alberta. And the same thing has happened with Donald Trump. Everybody that loved him as a liberal hated him as a conservative.
Right.
So he gets elected premier and he cuts spending, and everybody was, mad and you can't do this. And it hurt. There were some sectors of the government, education, healthcare sucks anyway because of government funding or lack thereof. But Alberta ended up on the back end of this in very short order in awesome position financially. Similar to Texas, oil royalties, things like that. And similar to Texas, when there were surpluses, instead of
Giving it to the people.
or judiciously applying it where it needed to be applied, they just started spending money willy-nilly and they're back where they were 30 years ago. It's embarrassing. And that's my biggest criticism with Texas right now. I'm somewhat disappointed that we've had $50 billion in surpluses the last two bienniums. And aside from, we gave you $100,000 exemption on your school property taxes.
Yee.
Woo.
I love it when you use biennium in a sentence. It's not every day you can
Just wait
throw
to see
that
what
out.
I'm going to use in a sentence later today.
Biennium. Folks, Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. Yeah, we'll let you know. But between now and then, you can go anytime you want.
You don't have to wait for us. I drove by yesterday at lunch. There were people. I think it was
Oh.
yesterday. There were cars. They have a lunch. They have lunch bingo.
And what's great about that is if you go,
Or they just went there to eat. I don't know.
well, the food is fantastic. But if you go at a time when there's fewer people, you actually have a better chance to win.
Yeah.
Think about it. Somebody's going to win. They play until you win. Good morning. There's my
Come on,
mom.
Mom.
Hi, baby.
Dollar floor store. The floor trader. Get in. The prices will floor you.
You're late.
Like that.
You're late,
You're
Mom.
late, Mom.
The prices will floor you.
We're huge in Vancouver this morning.
I like
People
that.
in Vancouver are up. It's like 5:00 just to tune in.
We call those people lonely. USA Concrete Coatings. Get in. Let Charlie Garcia and his group come and hook you up. You want to sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, whatever you want done to a concrete floor or
If
surface.
Charlie's in town today. He's probably at Veracruz.
He will be at Veracruz for Caldo Wednesday. In fact, he comes to town to eat Caldo. I know this for a fact because it's the truth. I've had it with him. Charlie Garcia will take care of you with the toughest nails polyurethane coat that won't crack, stick, peel, or fade. You can have a beautiful garage floor with an Astros logo. We'll get to the First State Bank of Louise Astros update in a moment. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen's does the best job anywhere.
We don't even
of
practice
towing.
that.
No, it just rolls off the tongue. Allen's Wrecker
Kind of
Service
chemistry we have.
is, which is scary and sad, but let Allen's help you if you need towing. And then part of Vita Wellness, ignore that. Vita Cafe, go by there for breakfast.
She's coming
today.
by tomorrow, and she's actually going to bring us breakfast from the Vita Cafe.
Is she really
Yeah.
coming?
Erica's going to come by tomorrow.
Well, I need.
She threatened.
Remember, I'm on carnivore. Make sure you do.
She's bringing something. What did she say she was going to bring?
Something
Something
protein-based.
something that we can eat that won't be messy.
There you go.
So good. Looking forward to that. So
We don't care. We have maid service here at the offices at 205. If you will just come by and check out our location, you'll be thrilled.
Before we get to the Astros update, Wendy Hughes Garcia brings up something about congressional term limits, and I believe voting is the term limit. I think it makes it tougher now with the money that's behind elections. And you saw this when our good buddy ran against John Cornyn, Dwayne Stovall.
Great
and
guy.
the money that was allegedly illegally funneled into John Cornyn's account, or some fundraising was done a little bit shadily.
Cornyn's done.
Yeah.
Paxton's going to bury
I think
Cornyn.
Paxton will beat him, but it just shows you that, you know, if you're an independent, you might get 20% of the vote, and everybody will celebrate that. Wow, you got 20% of the vote.
You got to admit, Paxton has shown the propensity for lawlessness that will allow him to fit right in.
Absolutely.
In the United States Senate. He
Yeah.
can just slide right in and go, hey, I'm a criminal.
But, you know, I mean, I struggle with term limits because I think Michael Cloud's doing a good job.
Well,
And I wouldn't want him out of there. I think Rand Paul's doing a great job for the people of Kentucky. I wouldn't want him out of there because not only is he doing a great job for Kentucky, I like what he says all the time.
but he needs a new hairstyle. He does. I would share with you that when Michael Cloud first went to DC, he was a huge proponent of term limits. And before you say, well, of course, everybody's for it until they get there. And then when they get, and they're for it because it's trendy to be for it. And people are like, that's my guy. He's going to go up there and fight for term limits. I agree now with Ash. You can limit a term with your vote. You simply can't go to DC and end up in the caucuses, end up on the appropriations committee, end up in all the places that Michael Cloud's relationships have allowed him to develop, to the places he's allowed to be. You can't do that overnight.
But there's the problem. That's who really runs DC. The staffers and those folks behind the scene.
Right.
That to me is somewhat problematic. That's why we have 1,000-page bills that have to get passed. We got to pass it to know what's in it.
Yeah, that was
Congress is becoming inefficient,
Pelosi.
and we're seeing it play out in what Trump's doing with all his executive orders because Congress just can't seem to get their act together. I think a way you would enact term limits,
Yeah.
really cut the pensions that those elected to Washington, D.C. get.
Yeah.
And I know they're stair-stepped over term and whatever, but boy, it's a generous package.
Kathleen Leininger with a quick aside, despite some very good representation by a very few good reps, Texans were betrayed by the legislature and the rhino agenda of its speaker, in bed with the Dems the entire session. I don't disagree, and we're going to have our own, the Honorable House District 30 State Rep AJ Louderback will be on with us in the days ahead. And he will address that, and he won't necessarily disagree with you. I've been advised that, like, the parliamentarian, the person that handles everything that goes through, you can surely have good legislation that never sees the floor. And you can have, they stand at the back mic and ask the most ridiculous and ludicrous questions because all they're doing is trying to bog down the system.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately, it's a tradition. It's the way the House operates.
Wow, but if you stifle speech, you're stifling free speech
There you go.
and debate.
And Jonathan Williams is exactly right. Term limits benefit is greater than the cost. There are more Pelosi's than Clouds.
But
yeah,
I
but
still think
Peter McNally, if a person does a good job, why would you want him to leave? I can't disagree, and we do have the opportunity to vote every couple of years.
I think if you got rid of the defined benefits for our elected leaders, and I hate when people say they're serving our country.
They're not serving.
They're not serving our country.
No, they're not.
So
I tell you what, if you made it so that after however many terms that you know whatever they get their salary for life and all that, ridiculous. That's not what Thomas Jefferson
I think
wanted.
that's changed, but it's still pretty beneficial.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could debate this all night long, but or all day long. We don't have all night, but I want to get to the Astros because that was a pretty darn good game in First State Bank of Louise. Astros update. Boy, did Lance McCullers Jr. look really good.
Really
yesterday.
good. 6 innings of shutout baseball. He had 7 strikeouts. He really, really did it. I think he gave up 2 hits. Yeah. He really pitched well. His
3
slider
maybe.
was really good. He used to be a power pitcher. Those days are over.
Still, yeah.
I mean,
still firing it in there at 93, 94, but he's no
Steams
longer
was
a
throwing
power pitcher.
99 and 100. Yeah, the guys that throw, well, I mean, in all fairness, you had a guy throwing at 92, 93. Yeah. You think about it that way. There's everybody throws at 92 or 93.
McCullers struck out 7 and walked just 1 and outdueled Paul Skeen, who gave up just 1 run, a solo homer to Christian Walker in the 7th. He went 8 innings, but
Tammy answers and says the alternative to property tax has been sitting on the shelf since 2019. I don't disagree. Austin does nothing. We keep sending the same folks back to Austin. We don't. We sent AJ Louderback.
So McCullers gets his first win since September 21st, 2022. In that 3-0.
He had to go
win
home
yesterday.
last night and probably quietly
kids
cry in his shower. I'm not exaggerating. To feel like I'm back. I have won at the big league level again.
And the last I checked, the Mariners were losing, and I didn't see the final. So the Mariners lost. So the Astros are now a half game up in the AL West. We told you they'd be okay.
Yeah, we told you they'd be okay. Did you see the really solid defensive work of O'Neal Cruz in the outfield last night? There was a ball that the right fielder probably was a right fielder's ball, arguably, or it would have been a double. And the right fielder had essentially said, I can't get to that ball. And he was kind of turning around to play it off the wall. And O'Neal Cruz came out of nowhere and made a leaping catch for that ball.
Yeah.
And the ball was flying in Pittsburgh last night. You made the comment, something I had seen as well. Beautiful ballpark. Beautiful backdrop. You can see so much of downtown Pittsburgh. It was nice.
Astros now 33-27. They've won 2 in a row, 7-3 in their last 10. Pretty good. Texas faltering. Too bad, Rangers.
Torrin Bales with perspective. As bad as some people think Texas is, thank God we aren't California.
Yeah.
I've got a T-shirt that says, "Don't California my Texas."
Absolutely.
And no doubt about it.
I don't know, a coffee mug. People are flocking to get here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can't wait for some of them to get here. Others,
they need
don't
to bring I see what you did there. They need to bring value. I like the idea of the EB5 that we've had for years and years, and the left fixates on Donald Trump selling America for $5 million. You can come. They're just dumb. All Donald Trump did was raise the price, and hats off to him for that. Yeah. But I wish Texas had that. You can't just move here. You need to. Do you have a job? Do you have,
Then I wouldn't be here.
Well, but you came here with purpose, though.
I did.
You came here for a reason.
I did.
So
let's see. Before we move on too far,
the comments are so hilarious. Yeah. People just going down rabbit trails of ignorance.
Yeah. Stanley Cup playoffs, Stanley Cup finals begin tonight. Rematch of last year.
Florida Panthers.
Edmonton Oilers. Oilers have home
ice
advantage.
That was a rematch?
Yeah, Panthers won it last year.
How many games to what?
I think 4-1 last year.
So is that roughly what you think is going to happen again?
I think the Panthers are going to win it. Yeah, I don't think Edmonton's goaltending will hold up. So yeah, I think the Panthers win it. I'm going to say the Panthers win it in 6.
So you're going to let Edmonton win like the second game. I
think they'll split at home.
Where do they start?
In Florida? Edmonton.
Okay, okay.
I think the Oilers could even win tonight. Both teams have had a long layoff. I think the Oilers can win tonight. Panthers will split to go home, and then the Panthers will win 2 at home. They'll go back to Edmonton up 3-1. Edmonton will win at home to make it 3-2 and give Edmonton fans hope. And then the Panthers will win it on home ice.
I know so little about hockey.
That's my prediction.
That I admit. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the Edmonton Oilers will just sweep the Panthers. They win it for nothing.
You got hot goaltending, anything can happen.
Remember
I
that
just don't
year
see
that
it.
the Astros went and played the Chicago White Sox in the World Series and just got smoked?
2005, yeah.
And the White Sox haven't sniffed any relevance
Nothing
since.
Neither did the Astros for 12 years.
They still have Harold Baines playing for them,
Yeah,
the
he
White
might
Sox.
be. Dick Allen's still there, I think.
Wow.
In
There you
his
have it.
later days. I'll say this about the NHL, and about 30 years ago, the move to the Sun Belt began. And now you've got teams in the Stanley Cup, like, Tampa won it a couple of years ago. Florida won it last year. This is their third straight Stanley Cup finals.
They don't even have ice.
No, these people don't know what winter is except when they shake their snow globe.
Right.
And now they're winning Stanley Cups.
And does that seem fair to you?
They're all Canadians on the team. So
Hey.
yeah.
Folks, Went Services, Went Electrical, Went Generators, Went for all your electrical needs.
Frank Mejia, the biggest hockey fan I know.
Oh, he's a huge hockey fan.
He's a huge Panthers fan.
Yes. Can you imagine if Aaron Judge played hockey?
Interesting side note, Evander Kane, who plays for the Oilers, and Brad Marchand, who plays for the Panthers, their dads played together in like junior hockey on the same team.
There you have it.
So there we go.
When does trivia become minutia? We'll get back to you. Went for all your electrical needs. Reach out. Aaron Went. They're great folks. Reach out to the Wents for all your needs. Adsanover at adsanover.com. Adsanover has a new mascot. I saw it on the tube.
It's a horse.
No, it's like a bevo looking thing. It's a cow.
Oh, is it a cow?
Yes, it had horns.
Oh, I didn't really take a look.
Now I could see a unicorn maybe, but this had two horns.
Okay.
It was
It's a cow then.
Tommy Taylor and his group, willing, able, eager to help you, serve you.
Absolutely.
Buy a new Chevrolet and see the USA. Cheswick Furniture, Cheswick and Love, make your house a home.
Go buy, get the best furniture around.
I parked right there on Bridge Street yesterday and walked in front, perused, window shop.
Did you window shop?
Beautiful stuff. And they emphasize this sofa can be made with the materials you want to your specs. It's basically custom furniture that you can order through Chestnut. Go by and see it. White Trash Services, White Trash Site Services. They will help you tear down
Someone's trolling me here.
and haul off. Yeah, there you go. Orders in 4. Go Edmonton.
She's a woman. She knows nothing about hockey.
Great. Oh, there you have it. The misogynist always comes out in the end. What's happening at the chopping block? Wacky Wing Wednesday. Get by the
Yeah.
chopping block today.
Buck off wings.
Yeah, buck off. Get to the chopping block.
Stretch
Then
it
you
a
can
little
throw
bit.
the
I'm getting
bones
to
out
it. I'm getting to
For
it.
what- By the way,
$7 baseball sirloins today. $10.99 picanha roast. That's $10.99 a pound.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
that
this
pecan
weekend.
is good.
Yeah,
Get a
it
little
really is.
chimichurri,
Yeah,
little
oh, that
chimichurri to go
chimichurri
with
is
it.
so
A little
good.
finishing salt. La, 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 la.
Hi, Daniel San Miguel. Good morning.
There you go.
They got picanha steaks as well, and ribeyes at $15.99 a pound. Those are some of the best ribeyes, maybe the best ribeyes I've ever had.
First family of law enforcement right there. All those
Yep.
San Miguels.
Absolutely.
Game wardens, cops, troopers. Man, if you can carry a gun, the San Miguels are in. We're going to get to some news.
Well, this is interesting.
Don't rush yourself.
CNN going on display
Oh, really?
at a museum in the Netherlands is a rare condom from the 19th century. See, I mean, and today we just put ribs on them.
Unbelievable.
This one was decorated with an etching that featured a nun and 3 clergymen. That would have been blasphemous
It's-
in the 19th century. Might still be.
is. It's in the Netherlands. Believed to be made from a sheep's appendix. It's part of an exhibit on
Yeah.
prostitution and sexuality.
Maybe there was a misunderstanding when they were told him that this sheep's appendix
Careful.
was for the this was the sausage casing.
Careful. I find it interesting
Anyway.
that in the background there's a very phallic picture of an airport tower, and it looks like you could slip a huge condom over it.
Yeah. CNN reporting that apparently Americans are leaving this country.
So
Yeah, they're fed up with the Trump administration. Really,
Bye.
this is when you just are so out of touch with reality.
If
You
Trump,
just endured 4 years of inflation out of the roof, through the roof inflation.
off the chart.
Thank you. So I was mixing my metaphors and didn't work out. I mean, you name it.
Ineptitude.
And now, are you speaking about me right now? Trying to explain this
but
story?
if I'd loved you and Biden together for a moment.
These are teachers, and they're moving to take a job and to teach in Morocco.
Bye. I mean, God bless them. I hope they travel safe. But if you're leaving this country over Trump, the fact that you're being allowed to leave, again, reemphasizes he's not Hitler.
Yeah.
Go ahead and leave. Look at him.
Yeah.
She doesn't shave her armpits.
No, and he
Bye.
looks like he hasn't missed a meal in
No, he looks
months.
like a meathead from All in the Family.
Yeah, this coming on the heels of the 1,900 people that have applied for a British passport. That doesn't mean they're leaving. But
And we have no idea how
Let 'em
many
go.
used to
Let 'em
apply
go.
either. You know,
Yeah.
were there 1,700 before that? Good morning, Jeff Finley. Hope you're doing good.
Let them go.
Look here, Jonathan Williams, always an Astros homer, says, I can't wait till after the All-Star break when the Astros get back. Arrighetti, Garcia, Javier, France, Jordan.
yeah.
Jordan has a broken hand.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I'm hoping that Forrest Whitley will get back.
You know, he's meh.
He struggled. Be a good story.
It would be a nice story.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting story. I just,
Lisa Poole feeling feisty. Good
Yeah.
riddance,
Yeah.
she
Bye-bye.
says. If you leave our country, your country, over who the president is, you're not American. Just go. Just go. I would have left over Biden if that were the case. I just chuckled and endured.
What CNN is calling could be a warning sign for the U.S. economy. More and more middle class and wealthy Americans are buying their necessities at Dollar General, primarily in rural areas. Well, because Dollar General is the only one that's setting up shop in rural areas.
Yeah, Dollar
Go to
General-
Mission Valley. There's Dollar General out that way.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
They're like the Walmart for the country.
But what have we told you pretty much since the beginning of this show? When the only thing that's populating vacant storefronts in Victoria,
Mattress stores, check cashing locations, taco
discount
shops.
stores, that's not a good sign of your economy. And I hope that's not the case here. Dollar General stock through the roof if you want a stock tip.
Well, didn't they
I'm not
do like
giving you
Dollar
one.
General and what's the other one called?
Dollar Plus General or something?
they-
Yeah.
they-
More than a Dollar General.
They mixed
I
them
think.
together. You know, there's a group called the IGA. For those of you that don't know that. So HEB has their own trucks, their own
Yeah.
crews. They grow their own vegetables. They contract directly with growers and breeders and all that stuff. But the IGA is the Independent Grocers Association. And like if I decided to open a grocery store, the IGA is to me what Cisco is to a restaurant.
The grocery store in Port Aransas is an IGA. And they used to be branded that way. They were the IGAs back growing up. I used to call them the IGAs.
Yeah, because it's kind of a buying group for independent grocery stores. If you are HEB and you're pushing 200,000 employees, then you can
And you
have your
own
own
Texas.
fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You basically have the grocery market of Canada.
right. Now, Brookshire Brothers is right on that cusp, you know, and then you go down to like the smaller folks and they have the Independent Grocers Association that gives them the buying and the think about the warehousing demands of we need 500,000 cans of corn.
Yeah.
You just can't store that out back at your Dollar General.
The leftists, I'm surprised weren't up in arms over this yesterday.
The waste.
The waste,
The
of,
food
of
waste.
the tomato fight in Colombia where people gathered for the Grand Tomatino Festival. But then, of course, they have to tell you, well, we're using tomatoes that are overripe or otherwise not suitable to eat.
No kidding.
I beg to differ.
If I popped you upside the head 80 miles an hour with a good firm Roma,
That guy's not throwing anything
no, that
80
guy
miles
would
an
get
hour.
him.
She's got a better arm than he does.
She does.
Better form for sure. But you're telling me that there aren't people in Africa that would eat those overripe tomatoes?
That's true. to make ketchup. It is interesting to me on a complete aside, the percentage of people in our schools that like they can't throw a ball anymore. They can't. There's just
They don't. Well, they haven't spent their lifetime or their kid years outside. Like we did.
Do your kids a favor this summer. Put them outside.
We made up games.
Yeah.
If we didn't want to, I mean, looking back, I bet you if you gave a kid a can today and told him to go call on his friends or her friends, they wouldn't know how to go call on their friends because they've never done it because mom and dad set up all the play dates and said, call on your friends to go play a game of kick the can.
They have no idea.
They wouldn't have a clue how to play kick the can or call on their friends. They wouldn't be able to get the game started.
Canadians are so practical. I can't wait to hear this. Scott Tomko, feel free to give us your comment on this. What did you guys call the game where you had a football or maybe a rugby ball, which I guess would still be a football to you? You have the ball and say there's like 8 kids.
Yep.
And the one guy gets the ball and everybody tries to tackle him.
Yep.
What did y'all call that game?
Gang tackling.
See, it's very practical. The Canadians are always like that. 8-on-1 gang tackling. You know what we called it here in the States?
What?
Smear the queer.
Okay.
That's what it was called. Smear the queer.
We used to play a game.
Look, Mark Kurtz, smear the queer.
Yeah.
Now,
actually, we used to play a game.
Lisa
Lisa
Poole
didn't want to
a
say
little
the
more
word.
politically correct, smear the underscore.
Yeah. We used to play a game in the winter because the ball was always slippery in the snow. Actually, we used to play it all year. Fumble football, we called it. As soon as you got hit, you had to fumble it, and it became just a free for all for the ball. It was, and it was
what's
fun.
interesting is at our generation back then, smear the idiot took too long to say.
Yeah.
So smear the queer and had zero to do with homosexuality. It wasn't like, oh man, it's a game that promotes picking on gay people. Not the case.
No,
simply not the case.
It was
2
just
words that rhymed.
Yeah, and it was just a way to basically offer up violence against one person at the time. It gave you a reason to go hit the person with the ball harder than you might have.
We had when somebody would in the spring would get a load of topsoil delivered. We had dirt clod fights.
Oh, heck yeah.
And the fact is, like, you get hit in the face with a hard dirt clod, and we didn't have the money, honestly, to buy goggles, not to mention only people that worked had, like, goggles. And I can remember my dad saying, and he would tell the kids, no hitting in the head. You can't do it. Tammy Keith called kill the man with the ball. And to be honest, back then girls didn't play.
No.
And of course that on our block, that would have all been adolescent foreplay. So we didn't really play with
Do they
girls.
still play spin the bottom?
I don't know.
Truth or dare?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Now it's just, do the cheerleader. There's no, you skip all that by the time you're in the 8th grade. Come on over. We're going to go to the garage and play Do the Cheerleader. No. It's true.
Trying to figure out the name of that game.
Yeah.
Fear the cheer?
Easy.
I don't know. Jump for joy. I don't know.
Why are they going to name? See, this is where I think the Republicans just get out over their skis. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has ordered the Secretary of the Navy to rename United States naval ship Harvey Milk. A Navy veteran and gay rights activist, Milk was assassinated while serving on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1978. At the time, he was one of the first openly gay politicians elected to office in the U.S. Yada, 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 yada. So the Navy named a ship after him. This is back probably in the 80s. To go find that guy is just as childish and silly as going to find that statue and let's tear that statue down. Just as ignorant as building a statue to George Floyd, who's celebrating 5 years of sobriety. Some of that stuff is so petty. And when, to a degree, the Republicans do not a better job, but they don't get mired down in the tit for tat retaliation.
Until this one.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
That's silliness.
Yeah, maybe we'll get in on some of this tomorrow, but CNN, targeting the rescissions and for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And listen to how they spin this. The annual budget of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is $535 million. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But it's just $1.60 per taxpayer each year.
It would be okay if they were saying for $1.60 per taxpayer, you get unbiased, unvarnished, straight news. But that's not the case. It's been shown that NPR and PBS are riddled with, dominated by leftists.
Give me that $1.60 back and I'll see if I spend it on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Right. You can become a member.
I think I got my Peacock subscription for less than that. But that was my choice.
Right. Even though the U.S. has long been the largest provider of humanitarian assistance globally, foreign aid accounts for less than 1% of the U.S. budget. Remember when Michael Cloud on this program said, let's just claw back 1 penny out of every dollar. Yeah. There it is. There it is. The idea that the United States, my daddy told me long ago, the U.S. has no allies that we didn't buy. One way or the other, we've bought them all. They're only allies as long as we pay for them. So you find yourself going, look, as long as I have a veteran here who is forced to sleep on a street, as long as I have someone who served this country in the military who doesn't have adequate help for PTSD, I don't care about Somalia at all. At all. When our people are fed, when our people are clothed, when our veterans have a place to sleep, then call me about extra rice for Somalia. I could not care less.
I like how it's only 1% of the U.S. budget. You know what that is? That's $70 billion.
Yeah, that's all. It's no big deal.
I was trying to do the math. I couldn't. So I asked ChatGPT.
You're
help
close.
Me out.
You are a good person for AI.
Buddy Stavino says, King of the Mountain when they got a new pile of dirt. We used to have snowball fights, and I mean, if you really wanted to do it, you would turn them into ice balls.
Yeah.
Or pack a rock in there if you didn't like the person you were throwing snowball at. And then we'd have the dirt clod fights in the summer.
Absolutely.
There was always dirt clods in new areas of development, because you had, in Canada, they pour basements, foundations, and so you got to dig out all that dirt. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
See, Tammy, you were doing so good. I got to tell you, she said, 3 comments back to back. You were doing so good. Go up, because again, I'm violating one of our cardinal rules, is giving, airtime to people that are just retarded. But I want to be able to see what I'm trying to read.
Okay.
Her first comment is, Hegseth should stop wasting time. I agree. And that's pretty much a summary of what we had just said. She said she agreed. Same. The boys that tried to keep us from playing or got inappropriately handsy got told by us. And I'm all for, my first thought was, good, I believe in empowering women. But then she goes one step too far. Turned out those boys were just repeating what their dad told them about women. Source? You have a quote? You have an affidavit from somebody's dad? Because it's certainly not the way my dad raised me.
No,
I was raised to respect women and do.
I was raised not to touch them inappropriately.
Right. Just definitions of appropriately are a little different in Canada. There you have it.
Yeah. We had the mittens on. It was appropriate. If we took the mittens off, it wasn't. I'm just kidding.
Like, what is that?
I mean, we are. I mean, I'm not defending anything.
Oh,
it could just be pure biological.
Right. That's why we have social mores, though, to control that stuff.
Absolutely.
You've got to have, if you don't have a moral foundation, then you've got anarchy. And by the way, all morals ultimately come back to being biblical at some point. It's funny.
At least from the 10 Commandments, a lot of them.
There you have it. So, yeah, don't want your neighbor's stuff.
Well, but then, Tammy, if we're going to go there and they're just repeating what their dad told them, then I don't want to hear any Democrats justifying trying to keep the 5 kids of this Egyptian racist who hates Jews from being deported back to Egypt because they've obviously been indoctrinated by their dad. And now we will have 5 other little terrorists running around this country.
The left is going to say that this guy that built the flamethrower to attack the Jews, it's not his kid's fault. Why would you deport them?
But it is, according to Tammy Keeling.
Yeah, they're just repeating what their dad taught them.
That's exactly.
So let's load them up.
But you know what?
Out of here.
If he's here illegally, they're probably all here illegally.
Yeah.
And apparently they are looking to him to export them all, including his wife. So they must all be here illegally. So let's go. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Hello, Riker. So, hey, tell you folks, I'm throwing myself on the court of public opinion. So the other day, Dawn, I went to Sam's and I bought one of those big 5-pound things of a fresh hamburger. And I just wasn't, I wasn't near the chopping block. And I had the hamburger at home and Caden made hamburger patties. Well, you see how the little guy gets up here now and he's pretty tall.
Yeah.
He had jumped up and kind of, eating like there were 2 burgers stacked up and he'd eaten a third of those 2 together. And Dawn just like, that dog, that's your dog. It's my dog when it does something crazy.
Of course it is.
And
just like the kids.
I went, yeah, absolutely. Her kids are my problem. Anyway, I go and just take the 2/3 and 2/3, and I made one big old hamburger patty. And I said, she goes, gross. I'm not eating that after that dog. So I just put it on the pit.
It's going to heat up.
Okay, all the bacteria. That's what I wanted to. Man, his mouth is cleaner than mine anyway.
That's actually false.
Aside from that little dinkle lick that he does all the time.
And the turdy ate the
Yeah, he does a dinkle lick. But anyway, I just cooked the patty and it was fantastic. It had some kibble in it, but it was great.
You spent all night on the toilet after, but could just be purely coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. CNN now saying, well, President Trump falsely claimed violent crime skyrocketed during the Biden years. Didn't the Biden administration make similar claims about hate crimes in this country during the Trump years?
Yes.
Yeah. So I get tired of these.
They all just talk bad about each other. And here's the deal. We're stuck in the middle. And it's kind of like we're stuck between these extremes where very little really happens. The needle kind of moves this way for a while, then it kind of moves back for a while, but we're on the road to nowhere. It's kind of where we are. That's where we live. And we all seem to accept it because right now the folks who fancy themselves as conservative are very excited, even though Congress is raising the debt ceiling and spending more money than we've ever spent in our lives, because they've rationalized that over the next 10 years, we will save $1.4 trillion. It's funny math. It's not real. The what is it called? The Office of Congressional Budget has always been
Congressional Budget Office. Yeah.
They've always been idiotic in the way they evaluate things.
What's interesting is there was an analysis of the members of the Congressional Budget Office, which is supposed to be bipartisan.
Yeah.
The ones that donated to political campaigns
all
donated to all Democrats.
There's
not one of them that made political
document.
Donations donated to Republicans.
They're not even smart enough to cover their bases.
Yeah, no, I'm going to give 50 here and 50 there. No,
but
do that.
It's terrible. So Women's College World Series kicks off tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 here. Texas Tech taking on Texas.
This is how you know somebody who doesn't know sports wrote that headline. College World Series does not kick off. Football kicks off.
That's right.
Soccer kicks off. Begins would have been a more apt.
Now a man who mixes his metaphors critiques the bottom of the CNN.
Those that can do.
Amen. Those that can't. Coach. Yeah, I'm with you.
Job openings up. We've 7.4 million in April. We know that there's about 7 million able-bodied men in this country not working. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's reform welfare, please. I think we need to.
What is this down here? White House package to Congress to reclaim 9.4.
Oh, that's the
billion.
rescission package. We'll get into that maybe tomorrow. Yeah, Eric Briggs going to come by tomorrow, talk Paravita. We've still got Pat Matula's show this weekend. We need to see if Pat wants to come in and plug that show maybe on Friday. It'd be good to have some live country music on Friday.
There you go. Folks, it's the top of the hour on Wednesday. Get by Veracruz today and enjoy the best caldo anywhere on the planet. They only do it once a week. We hope you have a great day. We really appreciate you guys. Love you. Have a great day.
Bye folks.